Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Everything's going dark. I don't feel good, Mr. Stark. Oh no, there went Spider-Man.
Oh, we're talking about Ant-Man.
Hey everyone, this is Chris and you're listening to One Cross Radio. And today we are rejoined by Pastor Steve Lambert. Steve, how you doing, buds?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. Waking up on a second cup of coffee. That Spider-Man meme was something I came across the other day, and it's been stuck in my head ever since, and I just love it so much.
You come from a dark place, Chris.
It's entertaining. It's making light of something that was... I respect the crap out of that movie. But, as you just said, today we're here to talk about a different movie.
Mm-hmm.
By the time this post goes up, it's going to be about a month late.
Yeah.
But that sometimes happens with us just due to schedules and stuff.
That's how we roll.
We roll like this! At some point, we got to do one on the Fast movies.
It's just like all at once?
Yes! Alright, so, as Steve alluded to, today we are talking about Marvel's latest movie and final one in the MCU for the year, Antman and the Wasp. So, Steve, we saw this together.
We did, that's true, I forgot about that.
I know, that was a nice surprise. And I saw it with Jill a couple days before. Have you seen it again since?
No,
or just,
I haven't,
just the one time? So what were your thoughts, man?
I liked it. I think it did a really good job of kind of doing what it was trying to be, which was just a funny movie.
Yeah.
Low stakes.
Yeah. A lot like the first one in that.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit bigger than the first one, kind of going some places that hadn't gone. I really enjoyed the Hot Wheels cars, especially with Lewis.
Yeah.
And the Truth Serum and those kinds of things. I thought the Ghost made for some pretty cool action scenes. However, I didn't love what they did with the villains in the movie. I think that was the biggest thing for me that I didn't like was I just kind of felt like the bad guys were kind of jokes, and the Ghost they kind of made sympathetic, and yeah, it ended up kind of falling flat on the villain side of things for me, but I had fun with it.
That's fair. I think in some way, though, that... Well, it definitely was a deliberate choice just because, well, that's how they did the movie. Mm-hmm. But in some way, I think it was done to maybe subvert the Marvel villain problem in a way, where it's like, I'm big and generically evil, and I do big and generic evil things.
Yeah.
Like, Yellow Jacket, I can't even remember the character's name.
Darren Cross.
There we go, thank you. Like him towards the end, it's just like, well, I'm evil and I'm evil and this is making me crazy, so I'm doing eviler things. And you didn't get that. So yeah, you had the sub-villains who were just there for humor. But the Ghost, they varied it up, and then Lawrence Fishburne, it's like, he's bad, but wait, no, he's doing a good thing.
Yeah, I actually liked Lawrence Fishburne's role in it.
Yeah.
I just thought the whole problem with Ghost was like so conveniently solved with the Wasp having quantum healing powers at the end. Like that was Janet, just sort of out of the original Wasp having like it was kind of out of the blue, and she talks about like she's evolved.
Yeah.
So like I just didn't know like what to make of all of that, and I heard a rumor online about the idea, because there was that weird Southern guy that was like the actual bad guy with his goons, mm-hmm. and that he was trying to work for this unnamed buyer. So somebody apparently tweeted that they had an inside source that said the unknown buyer was Norman Osborn.
That'd be interesting.
But here's the thing, like, if they're going to eventually go down that road, why not make Norman Osborn the bad guy in this movie, and then the Ghost could be working for him as like an actual corporate espionage thing. And then you got the goofy goons and like the serious goon without this weird, I can just touch you and heal you with my quantum evolution powers at the end. Like I don't know, but
right.
that was the sort of the thing that kind of just fell flat for me. But I really in general enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, with that, I haven't heard that rumor, but with that, it might be because even though Marvel has the rights to do mm-hmm. Spider-Man movies, Sony still owns the rights.
Yeah.
So at this point, it could be that's in our back pocket.
Yeah.
Like, we'll reveal that later once because I think the deal with Spider-Man is for 3 movies.
Yeah, it's true.
And then number 2 is coming up next year. So it could be we've got this in our back pocket, but we can't reveal it yet just because Sony might be since we're establishing our Spideyverse.
Yeah.
Although one of those movies got canceled.
Yeah. No, it hasn't got canceled. It's just not in production.
It's just not in production, which
it's not taken off the list.
Yeah, that could be a thing where they're taking the wait and see approach, much like with Civil War, where they had 2 drafts of the script, one with Spider-Man, one without.
But you know what, though? The Russo brothers have said there actually wasn't another. They just they were like, well, we're doing Spider-Man, and they told the Marvel Studios they had another version, but they never really did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they would have had to scramble if they hadn't gotten it.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I don't know. Like, the Into the Spider-Verse cartoon movie that Sony's doing looks like it's got a lot of hype around it, and people are excited about it. Venom doesn't.
No.
So I don't expect that Venom is going to do well, and I think Sony just needs to get their crap together and realize, like, nobody wants their movies. Just keep working with MCU.
See, I definitely agree, but it won't surprise me though if Venom ends up making some money.
I'm sure it will. Just
in the sense of, like, R-rated comic book movies are kind of hot right now, and that's a character that lends itself to it. Mm-hmm. So it might attract an audience. I know I'm going to see it, but I'm apprehensive about it the entire time.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I love this character. I'm going to see it, but I don't like the look of it.
Yeah, Tom Hardy is a good actor.
Yeah, a very good one.
We'll see.
Back to Antman and the Wasp. Like, I think if they get a 3rd movie, that they're going to dive into this. And beforehand, I was like, it's a shoo-in they're going to get a 3rd movie. But then they also deliberately did the question mark at the end.
Yeah. Well, that's just because, like, oh no, we've killed all of our heroes. How could there possibly be more Marvel after this? Like,
also Peyton Reed.
Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. Although at this point it's been a month, we're good.
It's also, yeah.
But at the end, like, I read a thing from him later where he's like, we've got plans for a 3rd one. We want to do a 3rd one, but it's not an absolute guarantee. That it's not 100% certainty that there's a 3rd one. So if there's not, that mid-credits ending definitely made it worth, like, wraps it up where it's like, okay, now we don't get the answers ever because,
well, I mean, everything that happened in that mid-credits thing is going to be undone in Avengers 4, right? Like, they're not going to leave them dust.
Although,
in the wind.
In the sense of, and this is something we're going to loosely talk about later, but in the sense of, there's been some stuff going on and allegations against Michael
Keaton?
No, not Keaton. Not Keaton. Keaton's amazing.
Douglas.
Michael Douglas. So if they ever want, even though I haven't heard anything firm where it's like 100% like, yes, it's confirmed, like anything blown up since the initial things. If they wanted to be like, we're just going to avoid the controversy and avoid the fuss, they've gotten out now.
Yeah, I guess so. I haven't heard anything about that, but
it surfaced, I think, earlier this year that there were some allegations against him that he denied. I haven't heard anything beyond that. But if they ever were like, we want an out, we want no muss, no fuss, they've got it now.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Avengers 4 is just going to be Batman showing up with a dustpan and brush, collecting all the dust up, and then rehydrating them so that they all speak the wrong language at the end. That's basically what's going to happen in Avengers 4.
You know what? If that is the only other ending I'd love, the only one I want more is the introduction of Squirrel Girl just beating Thanos off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, as for the movie on the whole, it's something I said to you after we saw it. I've really liked it. For me, it was, and I've seen it online, and I agree, it was a nice palate cleanser. And I'm wondering in the back of my head, well, they didn't plan it. It just worked out that way. With the villains being so different, I think it's because in my head, it's like, well, you had Killmonger, who, even though I had my issues with Black Panther, was a great villain. You had Thanos, who is the villain, and was amazing. It's like, after those two, you're not really going to have any competition. So do we go with where the criticism's been, or do we just try to do our own thing? And for me, that worked.
Yeah.
But it was a great palate cleanser, like the original Ant-Man after Age of Ultron, and the majority of the Phase 2 films where it was all like, the world's in jeopardy, the galaxy's in jeopardy. Mm-hmm. Like, Hydra's going to wipe out thousands of people per minute once they get these things up. Like, it was a nice, smaller movie. So with this one, even though it was bigger than the first Ant-Man, it was still a nice, small movie.
Right.
And I think that's
that's
a pattern I dig with the Ant-Man movies, where it's like, we've got small characters.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I guess, like, the thing about, like, the Ghost is, if they want to go for the goofy movie, the Ghost is one of the goofiest villains there is, right? In the reality of in the comics, the Ghost is this character who's this complete wimp, and so he never it's a guy in the comics, never takes off his costume, so he stinks, and he's he's usually has flies around him in the comics. Like, why wouldn't you go down that route instead of making her this, sympathetic sort of character whose father's life was ruined by, like, I don't know, I just didn't buy that at all.
That's fair.
I think they could have done something better there.
And that's fair. I didn't know so much about the Ghost comic character, but I think that's one of those things that works in that medium and not so much in this one.
I don't know. I feel like if anyone could have pulled it off fighting a stinky character, it's Paul Rudd. Yeah. I really liked, one thing I'll say is I really, really liked the change in relationship between Scott Lang and his family in this one.
Yes.
I really liked the house arrest stuff. I really liked the way his daughter's grown up a little bit, and, like, just him hanging out with his daughter, reenacting the tunnels stuff with Lewis, and the fact that his ex-wife and her husband have a better relationship with him now, and they're kind of like, I really and just like all that stuff where he had to get back there, and was it Detective Wu or whatever had to convince him that he was still there, and it was like all that stuff was really done well. Yeah.
It was very heartwarming. Like, it was a heartwarming, almost family comedy. Yeah. Like when Marvel does their comedies out of the Guardians movies and Thor Ragnarok, like, not taking anything away from them except for maybe Guardians 2. Like, those are genuinely funny, but they're some of it's adult humor, some of it's a little more crass, some of it's observation.
It's more like junior high humor than adult humor, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. But then in this one, there is a lot of humor, but there's not really any sexual humor. There's a lot of little family moments, and I loved the detective guy, Cassie's father-in-law, like, just being so embracing of Scott, like stepfather. Sorry,
she's not married.
right. My bad. Like, at the first where he's just running, like, let me get in here, and giving him the hug, and then with the recurring magic trick joke, being like, how'd you do that? Yeah, I loved that. I loved seeing that.
The other great scene was when he shrinks down partway and looks like a little kid running around the school. Yeah. And then, gets in the car and Hank Pym's like, oh, I have your juice box. He's like, really?
Really? Yeah.
I mean, that was just a good bit, right? That, your suit's not functional, so it's going to grow and shrink at random times. And it was well done.
I liked that they called that back. And it was cool that they referenced Goliath within the movie, but without like showing it, because you don't need to. Like, Hank Pym's had, 5 aliases? Yeah. And well, in the comics, they go into, like, his identity crisis being with his anxiety and his later revealed bipolar disorder and his mental health issues where...
Yeah. Well, even in the comics for a time, he was, like, just Hank Pym the scientist who carried this jacket and pants that had lots of pockets in them that he carried all these shrunken down instruments in, and so he would just, like, pull them out in the 80s and help people. And, like, they've had a lot of subtle references to stuff like that. The first movie, Darren Cross, the bad guy in one of the scenes, is wearing this jacket with, like, these huge pockets on it. Right. And it's like, that's just right out of the comics that Hank Pym used to wear. So, I mean, they've had these little bit of references, but even in the comics, at one point, Hank Pym gives up altogether, and... or maybe he's Yellow Jacket at that point, and Clint Barton, Hawkeye, becomes Goliath, right? So, I mean, there's just so much history that you don't need to have in this.
No.
I mean, they've gone right past Hank Pym and gone to the Scott Lang version of Ant-Man. So,
which I think works and makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially because they didn't include Hank Pym and Janet from the ground up.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we need someone young, but we can't have it be Hank because then that'll tick everybody off. Your mentioning of the pockets, I think that's a precursor to the 90s pouches era.
Yeah, maybe.
Back to the movie. I loved the use of bringing back the supporting players from the first movie.
Yeah. They
had a smaller role, but I think that worked.
Yeah.
And it was a great balance. Lewis was still hilarious. I love that they still worked in Lewis' speech, which I'm still desperately hoping eventually for a maybe after Avengers 4, you just get him summing up like the history of the MCU, or something where it's everybody talking like him. It's something that everybody loves, and they haven't done it to death yet.
And then they changed it up enough with the truth serum part. Was quite funny.
Yeah. And I liked what they did with it, where they're like the ex-cons doing security, like trying to do good things. And
I think Scott Lang does something like that in the comics too, right?
It was. After watching the movie, I'm like, I haven't read many Ant-Man comics. I think I've read one solo Ant-Man issue in my time.
I don't know that I ever have.
Where I just borrowed somebody, like it was, I just skimmed through it.
Yeah, I just know him from the Avengers, like both versions of them. From reading Avengers or West Coast Avengers or whatever.
And then I really liked the movie. For me, the smaller stakes, I've been beating this point to the ground, but I really appreciated it and it was a nice, funny movie. After all the real life political implications and hype around Black Panther, and then the culmination of 18 previous movies and 10 years of viewing in Infinity War, which I absolutely loved, it was nice to just be like,
something different.
This is light.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. What did you think about the whole quantum realm rescue mission thing with Janet and all that like subplot? How did you feel about that part of the movie?
Didn't bother me at all.
No? I guess, I thought it was okay. Like, they obviously set it up and needed to do it. It just kind of felt a little bit out of place, I thought, with the rest of the tone of the movie.
Right.
I guess technically that was the central conflict of them trying to get this done while these other people are after their technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt a little bit weird. I did like the shrinking laboratory that they could take around like a suitcase. And also, I don't know if you noticed when they're walking around the laboratory, a lot of the pieces of the laboratory are made out of like paper clips that they've made really big for part of the dial.
I didn't notice that.
And apparently, like, I think I read an interview. I noticed that while we were watching it. I read an interview. They were saying like stuff that they didn't even show in the film was like, they just made really big knobs that should have been like on an oven or whatever, and use that for something, and like they just they did a really cool piece with that.
Nice. One thing if I could pinpoint one thing I didn't like about the movie, it didn't actually have anything to do with the movie itself, but its marketing. Because after Infinity War, they were like, the Ant-Man trailer's going to drop, and it had all the cast of Infinity War being like, where was Ant-Man? Where was he? Where was Scott? You'll find out in this movie, and it was a big point of the movie of like, where was Ant-Man? But in the movie itself, they don't really address it, where it's just like, he's on house arrest and that's it.
Yeah.
And
really, he probably wasn't under house arrest anymore, because it seems like all of the Infinity Wars kind of happens, like there's that post-credit scene, or mid-credit scene or whatever, that seems like, Infinity War took a couple of days, right? So he might have even been out of house arrest and just not...
Well, and that's the thing. They, like, in Infinity War, it's like, where's Clint and Scott? Well, they're under house arrest as part of a plea deal.
That's all you needed, right? Like, there wasn't anything else, yeah.
And then for this, it's like, yeah, like you just said, it kind of raises a question, like, when did Scott get out? Could they have broken him out? And it's like, no, Scott's under house arrest, and maybe him and Janet and them have been off the grid, where you can... Or not off the grid, but you could buy it. Like, they're off in their own science world, being like, we've got to save our ghost friend. Yeah. So they're not paying any attention. Yeah. So that's the only flaw, and that's not in the movie. That's in the marketing.
Sure.
But
the biggest flaw in the marketing, I think, was the fact that they showed the post-credit scene in the trailer.
Which... when I saw it the first time and I saw what the post-credits was, like, I knew there was 2 credit scenes, and they're like, the mid-credits ties into Infinity War.
Well, so does the post-credits, actually.
How?
Because they pan through his apartment and then they finally get to the ant playing the drums for the rock band. But as they're doing it, it's like static and like a test signal on the TV. Things like that. So like the idea of being like things are shut down. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't catch that. Yeah. The mid credits was much more so. Mm-hmm. Where beforehand I had said, just because the reoccurring theme of Chris apparently likes really dark things.
Yeah,
would have been like if they snapped Cassie. Like just because that would have been the gut.
Well, that's what I thought was going to happen too. I thought he was going to be like reading her a story and she's going to disappear, and so he's like, I need to find the Avengers. But
which I like. On one hand, I still wanted just because it would have been like that is a gutsy move if you want to give the audience the biggest heart punch.
Yeah,
that's that. Because even people who don't like the Ant-Man movies, I haven't seen a single person complain about the relationship between Cassie and Scott. Like that's the most loved thing out of this franchise. So if you wanted to gut punch the audience, that would have been it. That being said, the way they ended it, where they ended it, I really liked. So it's gonna they're gonna have to in Avengers 4 explain how they get him out of the quantum realm.
I mean, here you go, big spoilers for the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
After they defeat everybody, they send him back into the quantum realm to get the healing energies so they can continue to help the Ghost, which again I think is kind of dumb. But they put him down there and they're going to take him up. There's a countdown clock, and all of a sudden there's nobody answering on the other end of it. And all three of them have turned to dust because of the Thanos snap.
Yeah.
And he's stuck in the quantum realm at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So what do you think is happening there?
Him stuck in the quantum
realm? How's that going to play out in Avengers 4?
They're going back to a lot of technologies in Avengers 4. Like stuff's been released where set photos and stuff where it's like they're incorporating I hate the acronym, but the BARF technology that they used in Civil War, where Tony was doing the flashback.
Yeah.
So they're incorporating that. It's not time travel, but it's going to, I think, certain memories or different dimensions. So with the quantum realm, they're going to definitely be incorporating some of that somehow into it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll use some of the healing energy with certain characters. I'm not sure, but they're going to have to break Scott out. What I'm crazy interested to see is how it affects him. Like Janet came out fine.
Yeah.
But will Scott?
One of the things that I heard an interview with Tom Holland and
the spoiler machine.
Yeah, Tom Holland was with what's his face, Benedict Cumberbatch, talking
the spoiler
about
canceller.
Yeah, well, he didn't catch him this time, but talking about their roles in upcoming Avengers, and I know that at the end of it they're both gone, right?
Yeah.
But he was saying, in the next movie they both have these lines about like, or he's like. It's harder for Benedict because he has all these lines about quantum this and quantum that, and I just got to be there like, oh, that's cool. So obviously Doctor Strange has some connection with the quantum realm, is going to in some way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's been all these theories about they're not actually dead; they've just been reduced into the quantum realm themselves, and I don't know how that works because it seems like they were turned to dust to me. But
right.
I think that would be a bit of a cheat, but I'm sure in some way this quantum realm is going to be essential in defeating Thanos, and they're going to meet up with him there and bring him out. And, however that plays out.
Yeah. And then before we continue, funny side story. Before Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom came out, I read an interview with Chris Pratt where he was like, Tom Holland spoiled Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom for me.
Yeah.
Because Holland was filming Spider-Man Homecoming on the same set that the director of Fallen Kingdom, whose name I forgot, was filming a movie. And they had worked together in the past, so they were friends. And then he was like, so you're doing the next Jurassic, tell me about it. And then the director spilled the beans to Tom. And then when Tom was filming Avengers with Pratt, he was like, dude, do you know what happens? And he tells Pratt what happens, and Pratt's like, what? I haven't read the script. No way. And then he reads the script, and he's like, freaking Holland?
Yeah, I heard that too.
Good story. Tom Holland just can't help himself. Bless that kid.
Did you saw what he did with the new Spider-Man movie, hey?
No, what did he do?
He was on Instagram Live or whatever, and he was like, I know you guys have questions about the new Spider-Man movie. I can't tell you anything. I just got the script, and he holds it up. It's got the title of the movie on it.
I saw that.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Oh my gosh.
So that was pretty funny. But so go back to this quantum thing and this idea of the evolution part of it that she says, I haven't just changed, I've evolved.
Yeah.
I read a theory also online that might be Marvel's backdoor to bringing in mutants.
Right.
Because in the original 60s comics, it was nuclear radiation had caused these. I mean, obviously that kind of gets retconned out because then you've got Namor, who's been a mutant for hundreds of years, and even and Sabat Nur or Apocalypse, who's been for thousands of years. But that was originally it. So I mean, there's this idea that maybe the quantum radiation from using the quantum realm will bring in mutants, and then we'll have X-Men.
Which brings the wider question, which we can talk about in a later episode. And we're going to touch on the reality of this later in this one.
Sure.
But I'm wondering how they're going to explain how mutants are hated, but superheroes are loved. Because that
racism. I don't know.
Yeah, like that's something that it's going to be difficult, and it's a fair question that people have brought up any other time. Where it makes sense when X-Men is its own isolated thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, oh, there's Spider-Man. We love Spider-Man. He's like a mutant, but not.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh wait, no, you were born with your powers. We hate you. We fear you.
Yeah.
Doesn't make anyways.
Well, and even in the comics though, too, like there's a difference between the people that got superpowers through some accident or whatever, and then have children. Their children are born with powers, but they're still not mutants because they weren't mutated. They were just and they really have a really defined line in the comics about what makes a mutant a mutant. But
I'm curious how they're going to explain that, or if they're even going to go that route.
Well, in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show that's had the Inhumans in it.
Yeah.
I mean, not the Inhumans show, which was terrible, but the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Which was cancelled.
Inhumans was cancelled?
Yep.
Yeah, well, obviously. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., though, has not been.
No, it's not.
They have all these people that turn into these humans, and they just all of a sudden have powers, and they're, like, ruining things around them. So, like, the guy all of a sudden has metal melting powers and just starts destroying things by accident. And so that causes this panic around them that all of a sudden these people who don't know how to control their powers have powers and are causing mayhem. And it's also with the Inhumans, it's alien DNA that's been latent in the people that gets triggered by this thing. So now there's this whole xenophobic, we hate aliens kind of thing. We're being invaded. So they kind of go that route. So it's obviously different with mutants. I mean, they haven't had Inhumans in the movies. But like, there's also this division in the comics between superpowered people, mutants, and Inhumans, and there's other races as well. And so it's tricky, but you could do something similar to what they did in the TV series with the Inhumans.
Right. If you're going to lift anything out of that.
So where would you put Antman and the Wasp, or how would you rank it, or how would you rate it, or what grade would you give it?
Oh man.
Because I sent you a thing, and I actually put it just above the original Ant-Man, and I actually put it below Black Panther.
Right.
Which I know that we had that thing where I said I didn't love Black Panther, but my point was I liked it, I just didn't love it as much as everyone else seemed to love it. I can't believe that it's the highest grossing one, even above Infinity Wars, and Infinity Wars is not going to catch up with it.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It's like 699 million and 677 million domestically. Globally, Infinity War is higher, but domestically, they've got about 22 million on. They've been out longer, but there's just no way that we're going to make up that with Infinity War.
I don't know. I'll have to where I'd rank it overall on my list. I did a list as a post right before Infinity War, and I haven't even put Infinity War on that list yet. Although I put it in the top 3. This might be something I revisit towards the end of the year.
Sure.
Once both are out on DVD or Blu-ray or Netflix, and I can rewatch them again. Mm-hmm. But I'd probably I'd put it above the original Ant-Man.
Yep.
And I'd still put it above Black Panther. I'm sorry, people who love Black Panther.
It's your opinion. You don't need to apologize.
No. Well, people get upset, and I'm not trying to. A lot of people have said it in a trollish way, and that's not where this is coming from. For me, a lot of these movies are. I can recognize that Panther was a better made movie. Mm-hmm. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed this one. So with this list and where I place it, a lot of it is based on enjoyment factor, not just this was the best made movie.
Sure.
So I don't know overall, but I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely better than first two Thors, second two Iron Men. It's high up there. I've really, really liked it.
Yeah. I put it... So my list right now, the top ones are... and I think will always be Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I just think that was... I mean, I think it would be really hard to beat that one.
Jill and I watched it again just Saturday night.
Yeah.
A whole time... Or Saturday afternoon. The whole time I was like, this movie's amazing.
Yeah. And then I have Infinity War. And then I have Spider-Man Homecoming. And then Civil War, Iron Man, Thor Ragnarok, Avengers, Black Panther, Antman and the Wasp. And then I got Ant-Man, Guardians, First Captain America, Doctor Strange, Dark World, Iron Man 3, Incredible Hulk, Age of Ultron, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Thor, and Iron Man 2. That's my list. But, I mean, that's subjective to some level. But yeah, I mean, this is top third for sure. Or maybe top half. I don't know. Top half. Anyway, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the other news segment, or do you have more to say?
One thing I did want to say is...
Chris has more to say, guys. Buckle up.
One thing I've seen a lot of people commenting online, and it seems divisive, was how much the Wasp was prominently featured. And I've seen some people complain, like, well, the movie should have been called Wasp and Ant-Man, almost, but not in a... That's not even from people trolling.
Because she was in it more than Ant-Man?
She was in it more than Ant-Man, and she was given a lot more focus. But to me, I'm like, it makes sense in a couple ways. Like, Scott's had a full movie of, like, main focus, plus a great 20-minute sequence in Civil War, where at points he was stealing the show.
Yeah.
And his character was still the heart and driving the story.
Yeah.
But even going back to the first Ant-Man, like, the whole thing was Hope was always the better fighter than him, more focused than him. Like, that's something going back where the reason he was Ant-Man and she wasn't was because he was viewed as expendable.
Yeah.
Hope wasn't. Yeah. So her being the superior fighter, being, like, better in the suit and a driving force on, like, getting the missions carried out, I had no beef with it. It made sense. And the character was now on equal footing. So you needed to play some catch-up.
And I kind of felt watching it that while Hope was given a bit of an arc and obviously was the better fighter, better superhero, the story was very much still about Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, he was the more interesting character. He had more important... Like, maybe it was just because I didn't buy the whole going to the quantum realm to save Mom part, but... Or as our Canadian actress Evangeline Lilly would say, "Mum." I love that her accent comes out every time she says the word "mum." She did it in Lost, and she does it here too. Anyway, actually, there's an interview with her and Paul Rudd, I think on Rotten Tomatoes, where he just makes fun of her accent all the way through, and it's awesome.
Nice.
Anyway, but yeah, I didn't think she even got as much. Like, she was the titular character along with Ant-Man, but I felt like it was very much still an Ant-Man movie.
Oh, yeah.
She's just not as interesting a character. She's kind of bland and intense, but a good fighter, right? Whereas he's funny and has an interesting arc with his daughter and all that kind of stuff.
I definitely enjoyed her character more this time around. Like, I thought they gave her more to do. I liked Evangeline Lilly's performance in the first one, but this one substantially more. I know some people had issue with even the marketing, where it's like she was in the forefront of the poster and Scott was in the background, but I'm like, that's fine. Yeah, it's the idea of, like, they're a team, and it's cool that you're getting, like, a great female character in the forefront, but in a way that's not like we're forcing it, where it's like, no, this makes sense. This is a great movie to do it with. I know some people were like, well, the Wasp was a founding member of the Avengers, so of course she should be first billing. Where it's like, that was Janet, and if we were doing this right, then Janet and Hank would have been there from the get-go, but they didn't. So this isn't Janet Wasp. Let's not. Anyways,
anyhow,
I get sidetracked. So now we're going to go on to some news, because there has been some news.
Insert the news update soundtrack here.
There has been some big news regarding Marvel. So the first one, and the lighter one, is that it is now absolutely 100% official. Disney is acquiring the rights to Fox's film library. So for any Marvel fans, that means we are getting X-Men, we are getting Fantastic Four.
Yep.
So be excited. We're getting Doctor Doom. We're getting Galactus. We're getting... At this point, we've got almost all the characters back.
Yeah, the only thing that I mean, obviously Sony still owns the Spider-Man thing, but they have that deal worked out, as we said. Paramount, I think, owns the distributing rights for solo Hulk movies.
Universal.
And you know what? You're right, and so that's why they can't have a solo Hulk movie or a movie with Hulk in the title.
Yeah.
Because while Disney owns the rights to the character, the distributing rights in perpetuity are owned by Universal.
Yeah.
I think it's Paramount that owns the Submariner, which is kind of a strange thing because of legal issues from the 90s. But
which I'm kind of I've never been a Namor guy.
Yeah.
Like.
As you wear your Aquaman
as I
shirt.
rock my Aquaman shirt. But even before I got into Aquaman, I was just like, I don't really care about Namor. He just never really appealed, and the freaking flippers on the feet looked stupid.
They're wings.
Looks stupid is the point, Steve.
Yeah, he's a Golden Age hero.
Yeah, so and then I'm just like, I'd rather just have Aquaman.
I think
that was before I liked Aquaman.
I think that the longer we go into the MCU, the more I want to see something different. Like I would love to see a Cold War Antman and the Wasp movie with Bucky as the bad guy,
yes.
and even maybe more. I want to see like a all winners squad, a World War II Captain America movie with Bucky and Captain America fighting, alongside the Submariner, and that would be really fun.
I was just thinking that where when I was watching Winter Soldier, where I'm like, okay, at this point it's almost 100% that Chris Evans is out, but I would love it if they could do like a World War II flashback Cap movie.
Yeah.
Or sequence or something where if we get another Captain America movie where it's either going to be Falcon or Bucky, but in this case I guess it would make more sense if it was Bucky, but with Falcon you could do it like he stumbles across an old file where there's the memory of a mission, if not the entire movie.
Sure.
Like they've done a couple Captain America comics where when there's been two Caps, it's been like a divided story.
Yeah.
Where it relates, so you could do that. You could Godfather to it almost. But
yeah, I mean, it'd be really cool to see even a movie about like as if Bucky becomes Captain America, where it's him exploring his past.
Yeah,
and you have a segment that's in World War II, a segment that's in the Cold War, a segment that's in like the 2000s where he fights Black Widow, which they've already mentioned, and kind of like these things lead to him doing something in the modern day as well.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is way off track again.
Yeah, sorry.
So,
but the news is official.
Yep.
Steve even said right before we started reviewing, apparently the boards on both, the vote went through within 15 minutes.
Yeah, both boards had to vote on it and agree, and they both decided they want to make lots of money.
Yeah.
So
yep,
they
and
did that.
It makes sense.
May not be good for the industry, may not be good for the people who are working there.
Yeah. Hopefully, prayerfully, it'll work out for those people.
Yeah, it's good for the shareholders, and
yep,
I guess hopefully open some opportunities for fans too. So.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see going forward how they weave in all these things. And with this news going through, and the other news we're about to touch on, it might be rejigging Marvel's plans. Because Marvel's plans after Avengers 4 was to go quite cosmic.
Yeah.
News broke during Comic-Con weekend. It has been announced that Disney has fired director James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I don't think Marvel's released a statement on this yet. And I'm hoping that they can figure out something where they can bring him back. What happened was a conservative news person or pundit from a website or something.
The guy from Gamergate, if you know what that is.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not Gamersgate isn't a website. It's like a controversy in the video gaming world that just stirs up a lot of problems.
He had apparently some run-ins with James Gunn in the past online, and then what he did was he dug up some admittedly awful tweets.
Yeah, these aren't the tweets from James Gunn's past. They're not just offhanded, stupid remarks that he shouldn't have said. These are like very vile things that he did say.
They are very, very vile things, which this person dug up and posted online, and then Disney quickly fired him.
Yeah.
The thing about this story, though, is that not only were these from 10 years ago, this is something that James Gunn has addressed, something he has apologized for, something he has explained, where he's like, at that time in my life, I was a very angry person. I was trying to be very provocative. I haven't seen much of his earlier work or other work aside from Guardians.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him.
But apparently it is in tone with the films he was making at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I have read some of the tweets. I would never recommend going to read them because they're attempts at humor that aren't funny. They're vile. They're repulsive. That being said, this is something that this man has apologized for, something that he has explained. This is something that's come up. It came up 6 years ago.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, before Guardians. From other people when it was announced he was directing, other people brought up these tweets and were like, are you sure you want this guy to helm your movie? And then he addressed it. He apologized. Dude has gone out of his way continuously to apologize. So for all intents and purposes,
he should have just gone back and deleted his tweets at that point.
Well, yeah, but doesn't stop people screenshotting.
Yeah, it's true.
But for all intents and purposes, it's almost like dude's a tone. Like he has apologized. He has not repented in a religious sense, but he's done the work to show like I'm not this person. I've apologized for these continuously and not surfacely. So the thing that bothers me about this is I think it can set a dangerous precedent.
I think that precedent has been set a long time ago. It's not just this is like the first time that's happened.
No, but in the sense of I've seen some people be like, well, they're just doing to him what they did to Roseanne Barr, but that was a very different situation where that was a current thing. That wasn't a past thing being dug up where you can see like he's done his effort. That what the Roseanne Barr situation was something that happened very recently, and a current attitude and a concurrent attitude.
Yeah,
where that firing made sense. To me, this does not. And the thing that is kind of fearful and where I have trouble with it is, heck, I've said a lot of stupid things 10 years ago. Heck, debatably, I've said a lot of stupid things last week.
Yeah.
And I don't think, especially when someone has like done the work and apologized and atoned, what have you, that their livelihood should be able to be affected. I don't think that people should be trying to target someone's livelihood because of that.
Yeah.
Now, you're right. That is something that has come up continuously through doxing and all this other stupidness. But I think Disney was in the wrong to fire him. At least that's my opinion.
Sure.
Where, if anything, it should have been like, all right, Gunn, you need to do some damage control for this again, where a dude can apologize again.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I think I largely agree with you. I think the bigger thing about it is, everyone's talking about now that Marvel owns or Disney owns Fox. There's this huge conglomerate, which is true. These are legitimately things that we need to be concerned about, and the weight of that in the industry is potentially a dangerous thing, right? But even they are still going to bow to the weight of public opinion on the internet, because that has become we have become in North America or even the West a shame-based culture all of a sudden because of Twitter largely, where people can find things from your past and expose it and ruin your life. And whether or not things that are good have been exposed, I think in general that's a negative thing for us. And to understand, we need to understand as a culture that the internet is written in ink. Right. Once you have it out there, you can't get it back. Unless nobody notices and you delete it right away. Like it's out there, and you need to be really careful what you say. And we also need to think as a culture about how we treat those kinds of sins that are all of a sudden, like we have zero tolerance for certain things in our culture now, and I don't think. There's just no grace there, and I think that's just not good for us. So I kind of get a little bit like Disney has this family-friendly persona that they've put up in terms of this is who we are, which I largely appreciate for them as an industry. And the things that he said are so vile I mean, it's not just sort of platitudes of them saying, "Well, this just goes against our," like it really does go against their standard as a company. So I do think, like, well, okay, he apologized, right? Like, don't give him the axe just for that, but I mean, there's just a lot of things to consider in there. And one that I found interesting is how the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy has reacted to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, a lot of fans are upset about it, but like Dave Bautista is like furious.
Yeah.
And Chris Pratt, who professes to be a Christian, all he's done is post Bible verses. So he posted from James about not judging, and then he posted something from the Gospels about a house divided against itself cannot stand. So everyone's kind of like, well, what does that mean? So like, there's this speculation that the cast is maybe ready to walk over this. And, So I mean, some other people haven't really said a whole lot. But we'll see how that plays out for the
because I'm not sure what they're going to do moving forward. And I definitely agree. We are in very much a shame-based culture right now where we want to bring to light people's wrongs. We want to believe people when they cite these things. But, like, people do things for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
They hop on stuff and do things, again, for the wrong reasons. Like...
Well, and it's interesting that the world views Christianity as a very judgmental thing. And especially for our stance on sexuality and certain things like that. But and there are segments of Christian culture and even people who are legitimately Christians who really are cruel and judgmental to people that they see as sinful, or maybe even who are legitimately sinful. They just don't deal with that well. But I think in general, part of the reason that people jump on Christians so much for the judgment is because the way that our world deals with sin is there's no grace, right? Like if we think that so much is okay and we're all good people, so when someone shows that they're not a good person, the world doesn't know what to do with that, and they just say, well, this person's a monster, and we have to shun them. There's something actually wrong with them in the head, and I mean, people do that. It's not just liberal people doing that. Conservatives, it's conservatives doing it to liberals. It's and that's just shows the human condition, right? Whereas, what's one of the things that I value and cherish about the story of Christianity and the story of Jesus is we're able to say, based in the Bible, that there is right and wrong. And all of us struggle with right and wrong. It's not just those monsters over there. It's me, starting with me. But there's grace and there's forgiveness and there's room for repentance. And maybe there's consequences for things that you do.
Oh,
right?
absolutely,
But I have no right to look at you and say you're a monster because I'm no better than you.
And for me, I guess that's where I really struggle with this and the court of public opinion. And like, again, with the example of James Gunn, where it's them firing him for something that he had done wrong. Like, there's no denying that those tweets were wrong. And trying to be funny and joking about things that shouldn't be joked about. But we as Christians, like, we are offered a grace that is undeserved. We are offered a redemption that we can't earn. And then we are told to forgive others and emulate Christ. So when I have been given that, and I see other people not offering that, especially other groups of people who are like, we are more loving and embraceful than you judgmental people. Like, that, I really struggle with that. So, yeah, the court of public opinion is something that I have a lot of issues with. Screen Junkies, when they were talking about this at Comic-Con, they brought it up. It's almost like once the public has ruled you as a monster, it's like you're one forever. Whether or not you actually do the work to atone. Like, anytime Mel Gibson pops up, now it's like he did and said some absolutely horrible things. Very true. But if you look into it, Mel has also, after the wake of the first couple like times when he was intoxicated and the other issues, he went to synagogues. He apologized. He served. Like, he served. He helped. Like, dude has gone out of his way to show, like, no, I'm repenting for my mistake. I've learned from it.
Yeah.
But that's something that's always going to hang over him.
Yeah.
And for
because we like a spectacle more than we like the truth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully, we'll see what happens, because a lot of the rumors coming out in the discussions, like James Gunn was going to be a huge part of Marvel going cosmic.
And I'll be honest, if he's not, I won't be that upset, because I didn't love Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and Guardians of the Galaxy 1 wasn't my favorite part. And actually my least favorite part of Infinity War was the Guardian stuff. Especially Star-Lord. I couldn't stand him in that. I just thought he was written as a doofus and ruined everything, and yeah, just a lot of stupid jokes. So I mean, I've never loved his input. I thought Guardians was okay. I thought Guardians 2 was dumb. And yeah, so I mean, aside from the ethical issues of this, I mean, I'm sure they can find somebody else who can do a good job with it, but I wouldn't miss him if he wasn't around.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I liked Guardians 1 a lot more than you did. We're pretty even on Guardians 2.
Yeah. I think Taika Waititi would be a better cosmic person than...
That would be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I really love Thor Ragnarok. I think he's got... I mean, he's able to be crass and crude too. But, I mean, like, have you seen Hunt for the Wilder People?
No, I haven't.
It's such a good movie. I just watched
Caleb
it again.
Just recommended it.
I just watched it again recently. If you haven't seen it, it's basically New Zealand Up in live action. Like, it's so good. It has a part that kind of has a little bit, not much. Still has a little bit of the same things. There's a scene in there where there's like a pastor who's saying some things, and it's kind of irreverent to Jesus. And there's another part of kind of veiled sexual humor. But besides that, it's just really heartfelt and really quirky and really good.
Nice.
Anyway, but yeah, I would like to see him, take what he did with Thor Ragnarok and go a little further into the cosmic stuff with it too.
It'd be interesting to see if he will. But if Guardians 3 gets made, if the cast doesn't like We're Walking, it wouldn't surprise me if they ended up having to go with a no-name, because it's almost like the situation around that movie, it's going to be like, you're the one that ruined Guardians, or you're the one that couldn't capture like the James Gunn voice or anything. But lest we beat this topic into the ground,
let's sign off.
Yeah, let's sign off. So, dear listener, thank you for listening. What did you think of Antman and the Wasp, and what do you think of the Marvel news of it's official, Disney has acquired Fox, and the situation going on with James Gunn? I almost said with Taika Waititi. Luna is attempting to maul Steve for love, so we better go.
You say bye, Luna? Bye, Luna?
Oh, she licked his face. Thank you for listening. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And if you can, hit up our Redbubble site. We've got some awesome merch. Thank you all for listening.
Dog attack.
Have a wonderful day, guys. God bless. Take care.